Trying to run out his battery someplace out in the middle of the Adirondack.
Tried desperately to get him to run out.
Plug into his car and use it someplace, plug it into it.
Oh, Minerva would be good in January.
Not picking you up. The mic isn't.
Not picking me up. There we go.
You exerted that power.
Well, mic check while we wait.
I like it better.
Making noise. Now she says she wants you to.
All right, it's 10 plus, we gotta do it. I'll call the meeting to order, and since my chaplain and her replacement, if she didn't make it this morning, or neither one of them here, I think we'll dispense with a prayer for this morning. Lori, the pledge of allegiance.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody, in the event we have to evacuate the building, please take the appropriate exit. Ask. Remember to follow all directions from first responders and building staff. Silence your cell phones, please. Thank you.
Mr. Hanky, Mrs. Fedler, Mr. Ferguson,
Here.
Mr. Shaw,
Here.
Mr. Hall,
Here.
Mr. Fisher,
Here.
Mr. Baker,
Here.
Mr. Nolan,
Here.
Mr. O'Brien,
Here.
Mr. Hahn,
Here.
Mr. Campbell, Mr. Skelly,
Here.
Mr. Hogan,
Here.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mrs. Clary, Mr. Wang,
Here, ma'am.
Mr. Roselle.
Here. You've all received the condensed minutes from March 15th, 2024. I'm going to consider them accepted as mailed unless there's any additions or corrections. Are there any additions or corrections you wish to make to the minutes? I'm going to communications.
No communications this month.
Reports, the audit committee. But Mr. Roselle, is there a second? Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have two proclamations. National Crime Victims Week is this week. Proclamation with the loss. Recognizing that, I have no one here from the Crime Victims Board, is that correct? Okay, anyway, this is Crime Victims Week, and Washington County, and I'm very pleased to issue a proclamation for that. I'm also very pleased to issue a proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, which I always like to call it. Sorry. And I'd like to present this, if I could have Glenn, and I think Bill Brown is here, and Lexi Zadowski and Stephanie Williams, you all here? Let's come on up front. We'll do it up front. Okay. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require law enforcement, fire, or emergency services in Washington County. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of our law enforcement, fire, and emergency personnel is critical to the protection of life and the preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our first responders is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who contact Washington County Department of Public Safety Communications Center. And whereas our public safety communications professionals are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas our public safety communicator professionals are the single vital link to first responders by monitoring their activities on radio, providing them with information and ensuring their safety. And whereas our public safety communications professionals of the Washington County Department of Public Safety have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each of our communication professionals have exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Washington County declares the week of April 14th through the 20th, 2024 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in honor of our men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our county citizens and first responders safe. And I want to echo that from the perspective of a ex-police officer. We always kind of graded a little bit under the thumb of the dispatchers who always wanted to know where we were, and being game wardens, we didn't want anybody to know where we were. They hounded us mercilessly and saved our butts many times. I know just listening to things just in the past few months, we've had some really critical incidents in many of our towns here that have hinged upon these people and the things they did. We've had babies delivered. We've had CPR instructions that actually saved somebody. We had that dog bite incident in Argyle that I talked about several times here and calling people up to the front. We've had a bunch of stuff, some criminal things and some just public safety things. And we've got quite a bunch of professionals down there. This is a really good bunch. And I am exceedingly happy to issue this proclamation.
Last week, just talking about today, planning it. We got to do it next week.
So
Schedule.
one other thing I wanted to mention that at this juncture seems like a good time. Our public safety officer, Phil Spezio, completed the Boston Marathon. In spite of having heart surgery last year and of quite a foot issue at this time, he still went and ran the marathon and completed it. I'm not going to talk about his time this year because it obviously wasn't quite the time it was the last time he did it, but he's planning on several other marathons, and this really makes me proud to think of Phil out there representing Washington County. That he's so Boston Marathon, they call him the Stash when he goes by. So. Where's the privilege of the floor? Anybody want privilege? Need a recess. We'll move on to consideration of the resolution.
Resolution number 123 by Supervisors Shaw, Clary, Fedler, Skelly, Hall, Nolan, Wang, titled Authorized Purchase of Arctic Wolf Cybersecurity Licenses and Platform via Sourcewell Contract.
Chairman, moving resolution 123.
Second. Fiddler, Ferguson, Hall, O'Brien, Wang, and Nolan. Discussion? Would have been a whole different thing if it was Arctic Cat. Although Arctic Wolf is a pretty good name. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 124 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Shaw, Ferguson, Roselle, Fisher, Baker, Wang, Title Washington County Board of Supervisors Seeker Resolution making determination of significance for the planning, design, acquisition, rehabilitation, replacement, and installation of improvements to the sewer system for Washington County Sewer District Number 2 Stormwater Separation Project in the Village of Hudson Falls, New York.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 124.
Wilson, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Skelly, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. You have all had this in your packet and seen it before. You've all reviewed it, I presume, carefully. Is there any comments on the seeker form? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 125 by Supervisors Fedler, Wilson, Hogan, Roselle, Nolan, Baker. Title to appoint member to the Washington County Fire Advisory Board.
Chairman, moving resolution 125.
By Supervisor Fedler, second. Ferguson, Hall, Baker, O'Brien, Campbell, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 126 by Supervisors Fedler, Wilson, Hogan, Roselle, Nolan, Baker. Title to make appointment to the Washington County EMS Advisory Board.
Chairman, moving resolution 126.
Hall, Baker, O'Brien, Campbell, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 127 by Supervisors Nolan, Hall, Hogan, Ferguson, Baker, Hahn. Title to make appointments to the Washington County Youth Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 127.
Supervisor Nolan, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Campbell, Wilson. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 128 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Shaw, Ferguson, Roselle, Fisher, Baker, Wang. Title to award mini bid number 2024F for two small SUVs carpool.
Chairman, moving resolution 128.
By Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 129 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Ferguson, Roselle, Fisher, Baker, Wang. Title to award mini bid number 2024G for two small hybrid SUVs carpool.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 129.
By Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 130 by Supervisors Nolan, Hall, Hogan, Ferguson, Baker, Hahn. Title to award mini bid number 2024H for three small SUVs DSS.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 130.
Moved by Supervisor Nolan, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Wilson. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 131 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Shaw, Ferguson, Roselle, Fisher, Baker, Wang. Title to award bid number 2024-3, Washington County Sewer District Number 1 Sewer Rehabilitation.
Chairman, moving resolution 131.
Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Campbell, Wang, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 132 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Shaw, Ferguson, Roselle, Fisher, Baker, Wang. Title to authorize utility crossing agreement with CHPE LLC.
Chairman, moving resolution 132.
Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Bryan, Hahn, Campbell, Wang, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion on this one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 133 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Shaw, Ferguson, Roselle, Fisher, Baker, Wang, titled to authorize contract with Kenyon Pipeline Inspection LLC for cured-in-place pipelining services.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 133.
Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Wang, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 104 by Supervisors Nolan, Hall, Hogan, Ferguson, Baker, Hahn, title reappoint member to the Washington County OFA Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 134.
Supervisor Nolan, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Wilson. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 135 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, titled to write off taxes, Town of Salem.
Moving resolution number 135.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Hall, O'Brien, and no. Favor.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 136 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title amend 2024 budget, Board of Elections to carry over unspent grant monies.
Moving resolution number 136.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 137 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title to amend 2024 budget, Board of Elections for barcode scanner kits.
Moving resolution number 137.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Brian, Hahn, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 138 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title amend 2024 budget, county administration to carry over unspent local assistance and tribal consistency funds.
Moving resolution number 138.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Bell, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 139 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title amend 2024 budget, public health for revenue for chronic disease self-management program.
Moving resolution number 139.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 140 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title amend 2024 county road fund budget to carry over unspent water quality improvement grant erosion remediation.
Moving resolution number 140.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, Brian, Hahn, Roselle, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 141 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title amend 2024 county road fund budget to carry over unspent water quality improvement grant culvert replacements.
Moving resolution number 141.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, O'Brien, Hahn, and Noland. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 142 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title amend 2024 county road fund budget to carry over unspent water quality improvement grant, CR 37 drainage improvement project.
Moving resolution number 142.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, O'Brien, Hahn, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 143 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, titled to authorize purchase of a tractor via Sourcewell contract.
Resolution number 143.
Brian, Hahn, Roselle, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 144 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, titled to authorize purchase of a mower attachment via New York State OGS contract.
Moving resolution number 144.
By Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Hahn, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 145 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Fisher, Nolan, titled to authorize acceptance of CDBG housing grant and amend budget.
Moving resolution number 145.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, O'Brien, Hahn, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor? Oh,
Aye.
I'm sorry.
I don't know why I didn't ask this question in committee, but what responsibility is the county taking on by accepting this grant? I mean, are we committing to something down the road? I was just wondering, I should have asked in committee, but I mean, I would have probably got the answer there. I just don't know what it is that we're committing to by accepting this.
We're not committing to anything. So first of all, caveat to this, I'm going to abstain from this vote because my wife works for the program. But that's why I know about it. All we're doing is, we have to sponsor these programs to enable them to come into the county. All we're doing is we're sponsoring this, and we are essentially everything is done by Pride of Ticonderoga. So as in their role to take projects that are income qualified for residents.
If you have questions, I just want to be available to you.
Oh, okay. No, that was it. I was just,
Your favorite county treasurer will receive the money and pass it through and do the reporting.
thank you.
I have a question, Treasurer Al. So this is the same program that originally was with the Washington County Economic Opportunity Council and then moved on out into the LEAP program, and then we no longer do it here within our county. It was done in Rensselaer County and now Essex County. They're the ones that we signed up for.
It's a different program, but it's some of the very same similar. They do some of the same similar things. It was quite a while ago in my career that we worked with Pride before on something like this. And there's a lot of the same things, Mr. Hall.
Home improvements and those types of things for the.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
It's income qualified residents who are in need of things such as water heater replacement, furnaces replacement, roof.
Like the weatherization plus. Yeah.
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And one abstention.
Resolution number 146 by Supervisors Campbell, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, titled to amend capital project number 129, American Rescue Plan Act.
Moving resolution number 146.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 147 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, titled to carry forward unspent grant funds, District Attorney Criminal Justice Discovery Reform Grant.
Moving resolution number 147.
By Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, O'Brien, Han, and Nolan. Discuss. Favor.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Resolution number 148 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title amend staffing pattern and title by grade schedule for part-time special patrol officer.
Moving resolution number 148.
By Supervisor Campbell, second. Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Han, Wilson, and Nolan. Discussion. This one, oh, I'm sorry.
I just thought it should be noted, since Dana or Matt are no longer members of this board, that, you know, we try to get all the staffing patterns done during the budget process so they can be thoroughly vetted out then. Realizing that the breakage is gonna cover these part-time positions, and hopefully they're gonna save us money on overtime, which the treasurer and the budget officer are both gonna track. But we've now are adding 3 positions that will be budgeted for next year without going through the budget process. Always tried to avoid to do that, and, you know, yeah, under certain situations, there are times when we do need to add a staff person for something unexpected. Just making a note of this. Thank you.
Noted. Other comment? Mr. Shaw.
Yeah. Ended in committee that that the sheriff was not going to need 3 at any one time, but he wanted to have a pool. That's why we were creating 3. Is that my understanding of? Well, what if you created only 1 or 2? You still would have as many as you want in the pool, right? Or do you assign a name to every person in the pool? Because it sounds like you could put 3 on if you wanted to. If you created 3 positions. And,
Increasing the size of the pool.
huh?
We are increasing the size of the.
So
pool.
there's a name assigned to each person in the pool is what you're saying?
That's my
The point
understanding.
there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that a pool has 9 names assigned to them. Okay. I didn't realize. Thought to have a list of people that you would call, start at the top and come down if there was a need for a part-time person. But you're saying there's a name, you only can pick from 3 people then?
Yes.
You've assigned 3 people in that pool. Okay.
That's my understanding.
Yes.
I'm getting guesses from Mr. Roselle.
Has 1 now, he's getting 3 more, so that would be 4 in that pool. Okay.
I will get the truth.
Oh, that's correct. There's 1 SPO right now in the staffing pattern that they use to substitute when there is a need at one of the schools. The request for these additional 3 part-time SPOs are to fill in, not so much at the schools, but if we have a deputy in the building, the one that's at entrance B, that's not here and we need coverage there, or to use them at other areas. But these positions aren't so much to use at the schools unless needed.
Ready? This is a roll call.
Mr. Hanky, Mrs. Fedler, Mr. Ferguson,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw, Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Han,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly, Mr. Hogan, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Wang, Mr. Roselle. The resolution is adopted, 4,690 yes. Resolution number 149 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan. Title amend the staffing pattern entitled by grade schedule for part-time bookkeeper.
Moving resolution number 149.
But moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Wilson, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. Hammer the sheriff and let the treasurer slip, right?
I'm decreasing, sir.
Okay.
He's going in the right.
Discussion. This is also a roll call.
Mr. Henke,
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler,
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary.
Yes.
Mr. Wang, Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 4,690 yes. Resolution number 150 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, titled to authorize the cancellation and exemption of a certain parcel located in the town of Fort Edward from taxation pursuant to real property tax law, Article 11, Section 1138.
Moving resolution number 150.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Nolan. Discussion.
Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title amend 2024 budget information technology for DPW management software.
Moving resolution number 151.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Ferguson, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Wilson, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. This one isn't anywhere near as exciting as the other. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 152 by Supervisors Campbell, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, titled to approve health insurance renewal plan year 2024 through 2025.
Moving resolution number 152.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, and Nolan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Hey, we had a couple. I've been sitting in the office, our district attorneys back there. I did a proclamation for crime victims. Did you want to say anything on it or just?
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Our college president, did you have anything you wanted to say or do you want to just be here?
Well, it's always good to just be here, but thank you for your support on the electrical capital project that we desperately need. So appreciate your support, and we're anxiously awaiting to hear about the city budget, as you are.
Supervisors' comments.
Yes, sir. I just feel it a need to correct the record. I don't believe you're actually an ex anything. I believe the official is retired.
Okay.
Or a retired police officer or a
Okay.
retired law enforcement officer.
Okay. Duly noted. Mr. Campbell.
So we have an event in Hebron on Sunday, and it's about ending Parkinson's disease. And it's Ray Dorsey is a medical doctor from the University of Rochester. It'll be from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the town hall. And it's been an issue in our region especially. And hopefully we're going to learn something, and anyone that would like to attend and learn more.
Fighting food.
Hopefully you've ate by then.
Yeah, this is kind of a procedural question, and I didn't want to do it during the resolutions. But when we, a committee approves carrying forward a grant, and then it has to go to finance to be approved again, Why is that? Because if it's been once accepted and a carryover, like unspent money in, highway department, why would why couldn't committee at the, committee that it falls under cover that? Because I thought the reason it goes to finance is because it could impact the budget. And this would not impact the budget. So I was wondering why we do that, and have to go through two committees to review carrying forward a grant.
Yeah, so it's our own board policies. Everything goes through committee and then, and in order to add anything to the budget, and you gotta remember this is being added to the budget. You're carrying it over from the 23 budget to the 24 budget, so it is actually adding. But if you want to review the policies of the board, we'll go to government ops and we can review that if you want
Well,
to change.
no, I,
But
yeah,
that-
I see what
That's what
you're
our
saying.
policy says.
But like the very first one, where we awarded, it says funds contained in the budget, from out of IT. If the committee did not approve that purchase,
Happened.
it wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't even get to finance to get here
But it didn't go to finance.
because the money was already in the budget.
Right. And that, the
But
point I'm
anything
saying
that's-
is because it impacts the budget, this does it, and I thought that only what impacts the budget, and all I'm saying is a carryover.
A carryover impacts the budget because without carrying over, it can get in the budget. Because it's in last year's budget, not in this year's.
Right, but it's unspent. It was approved once.
Right, it's just not there.
But,
So you have to move it to make it available.
but this year's budget was approved as a separate document. It did not include it.
Right.
Therefore, to add it to it, I believe it needs to go through finance. That's just my understanding.
Well, I see it as a redundancy and if, to me, it wouldn't have to go that because it would never increase the following year's budget anyway, whether if you didn't approve it or did approve it in committee level, so. You know, it's a point, I don't know if people are seeing what I'm trying to say is that it seems like, the committee that it falls under could make that approval without going to two committees.
It could, but we'd need
But
to,
Brian made the point,
Change
it's in our rules, so,
Right.
yes,
Right,
I
so we-
understand that.
we could modify the rules.
For saying I've been around too long. If we were to modify this and around long enough, you see, okay, we don't need to do that. We do, oh, wait a minute, we do. So I think that it should be there because then you would see it and there wouldn't be the questions going, how did that money come from? Are we tracking it? So I agree. with
He's saying that I haven't been around.
Let's not get into arguing about who's been around longer. We're gonna get in trouble with that. Wait a minute.
We've had a busy week with FEMA and the people that attended, I felt gave good information to Harry and I don't know how the rest of the county feels, but in the town. Their heart and soul and their salaries into their homes to make it what they are. What we can do as a town and a county. I would encourage the county to think about that too, because it. So thankful for the public safety and Glenn and every. So it's to be.
Thought you were commenting, on did you still had a comment on the
Yeah.
other one?
So what I wanted to go back to, because I think I can tie this in real easy for Dan, you always would mention potential fund balance. So when we move a grant forward, it can't be fund balance. A grant goes forward just because it's within that area. When we move money from IT, that's regulated by us. If we didn't move that forward, it would become fund balance. So it's potential fund balance that you're moving to this year's budget. And it can be spent in case something costs more than it should have, or if you want to do another program where you need an update that you didn't, prepare for. So I think that would help you see that this is potential fund balance being moved into this calendar year. Other words, that would go into the general fund when Al closes the books.
So in other words, just so I understand what you're saying, Brian, grant money can turn into fund balance?
No, grant money cannot. That's just an actual move. That one might make sense that we could do that in committee. The one that we're talking about with IT.
Oh, no, I didn't want to.
I don't think IT is grant funds.
agree
I
with
think
you.
that's money
Okay.
left that was potential fund balance.
I was only
By
referring
moving
to,
that,
yes, that I understood.
but that's getting added to their budget on the revenue
Right.
side.
Right.
So it would be available we would still have to pass it to spend it. But
Right.
it is going into their revenue side.
But see, in logic, I would say that first resolution that I moved out of IT should have gone to finance, and it didn't. And the one for grant money, which either has to be forwarded or you lose it, could be done in committee. I thought it should be just opposite of what it was.
And that's a possibility, and we would have to look at that policy more in depth.
It just, it expedites things, and it also, the review is properly done.
Bring it to government ops if you want to. Either one of you. So,
The same line as Sue was talking about the FEMA, they come to Whitehall also. The general consensus I had of anybody, the public coming, there's nothing we can do about it. That's what everybody's saying. In turn, in the future, when everything's said and done, the assessed value of that floodplain property that they've added will be going down. And that's our tax dollar that the federal government is, I'm assuming, taking from us. The people that are in the floodplain, I don't know what we can do or what the county can do about it, but I'd like to research it. I don't have the slightest.
all right.
Two things, the FEMA meetings were really interesting. Salem was a hotbed of activity. They had more than anyone else. Good concerns raised. The one that Sue and I got honored on was our favorite bridge down there. And there's still people concerned about the Archibald Bridge and what happened, so that just came up a topic. On another note, this year is the 100th anniversary of the Granville Rotary Club. Established in 1924. The Rotary Club has made significant contributions over the past 100 years. Helped fundraise actually led the fundraising for two hospitals. One older hospital moved to a new one, and we're instrumental in the fundraising and construction of the brand new North Granville. They funded the construction to help raise funds to construct the current high school in its previous form. Sponsored a Boy Scout troop since 1938. Years have handed out 2 scholarships to students over the years. Bond drives and scrap metal drives in there. There's lots of other things, but I thought the most interesting part of it was the current Rotary Club celebration, which is going to be May 3rd. There will be 5 direct descendants of the original board of directors of the Granville Rotary Club. That to me was significant. continuity has come down from family to family to family, so I think it was a great thing, and hopefully we can do more for the community.
One of them.
Grandfather was the first president.
I phrased it that way so it could go either direction.
And there's two other Rotarians, not from Granville, but on the board that I know of. If you look back through the past years, there was a significant number on the Board of Supervisors, both from Granville and many other communities.
All right, I got a couple things. Number one, I was a little disappointed on Argyle's attendance at these FEMA meetings. We had very few people in looking at the maps and very few people actually showing up at the meetings. I think philosophy that John just expressed, that, well, it's going to happen anyway. There's nothing you can do about it. And you probably won't hear a lot of complaints and things until they get their flood insurance bills. However, I would also point out that while I have been notably irascible regarding the DEC portion of the FEMA stuff, if any of you know some of my history, we've had it. Don't look it up, for Christ's sake. Irascible just means rotten. In any event, I would say that also a bad thing is to have a lot of flood damage and not have flood insurance, because your general household insurance does not cover water damage. It doesn't cover floods. So if you are anywhere close to the floodplain and you get flooded and you could not get flood insurance because you were outside of the thing, that's a significant hurting on people as well. So there's two sides to the coin, much as I hate to give it to them. Secondly, we're doing some historical stuff in the town of Argyle, where our historians over the years have amassed a bunch of stuff that nobody ever gets to see and things. We're kind of working on putting together a little museum. One of our latest things that we're doing right now, Argyle used to have street lamps, kerosene lamps, and they were gas for a while, and then they went back to kerosene. One of the lamplighters was my grandfather, Howard Yarder, when he was a little fellow, and he was a little fellow. He had to carry a ladder with him to climb up and light them, and then get up early and go turn them off. We've had one of the standards that held these lamps up for years and been unable to find any of the darn lamps. There's one standard left embedded in a big maple tree up on Barclay Avenue that we haven't dug out. When the tree falls down, we'll rescue that one too. However, we just found one of the lamps. It's going to cost us a little bit to get it back, but within a couple of weeks, we ought to have in the town hall the old standard and one of the original old lamps on it. So feel there for people to see. Finally, this a little gem that I haven't talked about before. The Argyle American Legion, Post 1518, does 4 or 5 times a year a pancake supper, which is one of the best pancake suppers I've encountered, and I try to go to as many of the Legion stuff around the area that I can. It's this Saturday, 4 to 7. It's really great if you need something to go to, or to feed the kids, or to just go have a good time and feed. They do a great job right there at the American Legion. So I invite you all to that 4 to 7 on Saturday. Anything else? Mr. O'Brien.
Back to the flood insurance, I got a good education about flood insurance. What people don't realize is there's a number of times you can use your flood insurance. And one of the people down there who was involved in Archibald flood damage from Irene, and then her premiums went up, and they'd only cover 20%. $6,000 or more in flood insurance, but it's got a shelf life on it. You have a claim, yeah, we expect
value gets lowered with your reimbursed, that doesn't make sense. Perhaps some insurance expert can explain it to us.
Cynic in me says they had huge losses in those two back-to-back hurricanes, and they're trying to increase their premiums, and every place else to get FEMA back into the black, but that would just be a cynical thing, and I don't want to be like.
I think you're right.
So,
Just to go up further on that, so many people believe that, postcard in the mail, or if your name's on the list, that the structure, it's not necessarily based on the property. Your property could be next to White Creek or next to, your house could be, situated in the road, which is a different elevation. And so if they have to move, they can have here it's demonstrated in, here as water. So, yeah, there are things you can do, but you have to understand. Our property, which is on the floodplain. It's just like anything else that takes, paperwork after paperwork after paperwork. So, I think it's important to educate ourselves.
it's a complex process. We did one house in Argyle, which is on top of a hill. And if he flooded, the Presbyterian church would be underwater up in the village.
And the steeple.
And yet, at the bottom of the hill, some of his property is in the floodplain. They had him listed. We had an awful battle getting that one removed. Roselle.
Another thing we learned, we've got a lot of farmers on Meadowy Flats in Whitehall. In order for them to build a barn or a structure in the floodplain, even though they have ag exempt, so it's not worried about county code, they have to get a permit through the floodplain. And even if it's a barn and everything, that they'd have to get insurance on that through the floodplain to build a pole barn. There's a lot of fine print there that's I don't even know how to deal with it. Won't bother the Amish a bit because they don't get insurance or bank things, so.
On.
I want to remind everybody of the Hartford Memorial Day Parade. I'm going to be carrying on that tradition. It's usually a very nice parade. And it's easy to get to because we are the heart of Washington County.
Oh, don't start that.
We're gonna carry that out.
That just means it was a place where a deer crossed the river. That's not hard for means. And we do time our parades differently, so you can come to both the Argyle and the Hartford Memorial Day Parade. Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Shaw, would you adjourn?
By order of the chairman of the Washington County Board of Supervisors, Robert Hinkie, I declare this meeting adjourned and stand adjourned until May 17th at 10 a.m. unless special, in which case due and timely notice will be given.
We're adjourned.